After nearly 3 years of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, uncertainties persist regarding the war's conclusion and Ukraine's path forward. Rebuilding the nation's economy post-war will be a formidable task, beset by challenges like labor shortages and disrupted supply chains. Yet Ukraine's resilience and the optimism of its citizens offer hope for a brighter future. Ukrainians overwhelmingly reject the notion that Russia is winning the war. Only 5% believe it is. The remaining majority was split almost evenly between those who thought Ukraine is winning and those who thought neither side is winning. When it comes to war outcomes, 73% of Ukrainians believe that Ukraine will eventually liberate all of its territories. A sizable percentage also believe that Ukraine will regain some or all of its territories within the next year. That's 56%. And that the war will end within 2 years. 59%. While other polls have found less optimism about the current situation, the general belief in eventual victory is consistent across recent polls. For President Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukrainian society's resilience and optimism are both an asset and a liability. Russia's attempts to force Ukrainians to capitulate to its demands have clearly failed. Zelensky can credibly argue to Ukraine's partners that his war strategy has widespread domestic support. At the same time, Ukrainians' high expectations create the potential for widespread disappointment if the war culminates in an outcome short of total battlefield victory and territorial liberation. As he struggles with a precarious situation on the front and tough decisions about a further mobilization of troops, Zelensky will have to balance between bolstering society's morale and offering realistic assessments of what can be achieved. Ukrainians remain committed to the war effort and opposed to capitulating to Russian demands, and are far more clamoring for a change in leadership. They also understand the importance of self-reliance in Ukraine's long-term defense strategy. Still, their expectations for victory remain high. Ukrainian and Western leaders would be wise to communicate clearly about what is achievable on the battlefield and under what circumstances a more intensified diplomatic process could meaningfully pave the way for a just and lasting peace. Ukraine's military efforts face considerable challenges. Despite a U.S. aid package, Ukrainian troops have endured setbacks such as the retreat from Avdiivka and relentless Russian bombardments targeting infrastructure. Nonetheless, a Carnegie-sponsored opinion poll from March 2024 conducted during these hardships revealed an optimistic Ukrainian populace. The majority dismissed the idea of Russian dominance, with 73% believing Ukraine would reclaim all its territories. This war mirrors the brutal carnage of earlier conflicts. Despite the integration of modern technologies like drones and satellites, Russia's military strength in Ukraine includes nearly 500,000 troops, surpassing Ukraine's frontline numbers by about 150,000. However, Ukraine's nationwide military force stands at 800,000, sustained by new conscription laws. Whether these numbers can be expanded remains uncertain. The front lines are locked in a standoff, with Russia holding approximately 18% of Ukraine's pre-2014 territory, including Crimea and portions of Kherson, Zaporizhia, Luhansk, and Donetsk. This equates to nearly a quarter of Ukraine's territory. However, Ukraine has demonstrated its capacity to strike back, as evidenced by the August 2024 attack on Kursk. Ukraine's war effort is highly and heavily reliant on foreign aid. The U.S. has provided roughly $55.7 billion in military aid, with European nations matching this sum and adding significant economic and humanitarian support. However, congressional gridlock in the U.S. and debates over continued assistance pose risks to Ukraine's supply chains and military operations. The war has likely caused over 1 million combined casualties, with Russia suffering more troop losses and Ukraine enduring significant civilian casualties. Nearly 5 million Ukrainians live under Russian occupation, facing precarious futures. Additionally, 6.7 million Ukrainian refugees reside abroad, and 3.7 million are internally displaced. Reintegrating these individuals will be essential for Ukraine's recovery and democratic vitality. Ukraine's economy has been severely damaged by the war, with a sharp decline in GDP and persistent trade deficits. Strong harvests and adept fiscal management have provided some stability. But the International Monetary Fund warns that headwinds are intensifying. Ukraine's reliance on foreign aid extends beyond military assistance, with over $235 billion provided by more than 40 countries since February 2022. European donors have contributed $130 billion, and the US has provided $90 billion. Despite this support, Ukraine's defense spending consumed over 50% of its budget by 2023. Russia's economy, meanwhile, has shown resilience, bolstered by defense spending and support from allies like China. Despite Western sanctions, Russia continues substantial oil and gas exports, albeit at reduced prices. Support from China in trade and technology, along with North Korea and Iranian military assistance, has strengthened Russia's position. The war's nature is marked by relentless artillery bombardments and heavy reliance on drones and missiles. Russian forces fire over 10,000 artillery rounds daily, with production supported by North Korea and China. Ukraine, in contrast, struggles to sustain artillery fire due to supply constraints. Despite receiving Western tanks, long-range missiles, and combat aircraft, it remains uncertain whether Ukraine can shift the war's momentum in 2025. Ukraine's air defenses face mounting challenges. In September 2024 alone, Ukraine intercepted 1,753 drones and 53 missiles. However, Russian missile barrages continue to overwhelm its systems. President Zelensky estimated that Ukraine possesses only 25% of the air defenses it needs, emphasizing the urgency of sustained Western support. Even before the U.S. election, there were signs that Zelensky was looking for ways to bolster Ukraine's appeal as a future partner for a president-elect like Trump, who is both instinctively transactional and reluctant to continue underwriting wider European security. As part of his victory plan, unveiled in October, Zelensky suggested that battle-hardened Ukrainian troops could replace U.S. forces in Europe after the war with Russia ends, and he offered the prospect of joint investments to exploit Ukraine's natural resources, including uranium, graphite, and lithium. Such strategic resources, Zelensky warned, will either strengthen Russia or Ukraine and the democratic world. But other elements of the Ukrainian leader's victory plan, NATO membership, and its call for a comprehensive non-nuclear strategic deterrence package, seem to have been met with a lukewarm response among Kiev's allies. NATO membership in particular remains a sticking point, as it has been since well before Russia's full-scale invasion. For Kiev, it is the only way to guarantee the country's future survival against a rapacious Russian enemy bent on subjugating Ukraine. But despite declaring last July that Ukraine was on an irreversible path to full Euro-Atlantic integration, including NATO membership, the alliance is divided, with the US and Germany not yet in favor of issuing an invitation. President Zelensky has indicated that if an offer of membership was extended to the whole country within Ukraine's internationally recognized borders, he would be willing to accept that it would apply, initially only to territory under Kiev's control. This, he told Sky News in November, could end the hot stage of the war, allowing a diplomatic process to address the question of Ukraine's final borders. But he said no such offer had yet been made. Western allies have responded to Russian aggression with sanctions and substantial support for Ukraine. The European Union has granted Ukraine candidacy for membership, while NATO reaffirms its commitment to Ukraine's future in the alliance. However, Russia's deepening ties with China, Iran, and North Korea pose significant challenges to Ukraine and Western interests. Zelensky's diplomatic efforts have been pivotal in maintaining international support. His outreach to global audiences and coalition building have secured critical aid and kept Ukraine's plight in focus. Nevertheless, Russia's ability to evade sanctions and strengthen alliances complicates the geopolitical landscape. Post-war recovery will hinge on rebuilding Ukraine's economy, repatriating refugees, and addressing widespread destruction. Despite ongoing challenges, Ukrainians remain steadfast in their national cause. Polls indicate a resilient belief in eventual victory and liberation, with 73% of Ukrainians confident in reclaiming their territories. Zelensky must balance public optimism with realistic expectations. The war's outcome may fall short of public aspirations, requiring clear communication about achievable goals. Western leaders must also navigate sustainable aid levels, focusing on defensive capabilities and long-term support for Ukraine's recovery. Ukraine's future presents complex policy challenges. Its ability to reclaim all territories remains uncertain, raising the question of whether an armistice that preserves territorial claims might offer a viable alternative. Security remains paramount, with debates over whether expedited NATO membership or alternative security guarantees could best protect Ukraine. Additionally, sustaining Western assistance is crucial. This involves determining whether to prioritize defensive systems over large-scale counter-offensive capabilities to balance immediate needs with long-term sustainability. As developments in 2025 unfold, the trajectory of the war and its resolution will have profound implications for European and global security. Despite the daunting challenges, Ukraine's resilience and international support highlight its enduring determination to rise again. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine represents a significant test of resilience, diplomacy, and global alliances. Ukraine has shown remarkable determination and unity in the face of unprecedented challenges, bolstered by widespread optimism among its citizens. However, the path forward is fraught with uncertainty. While Ukraine's efforts to reclaim its territories remain steadfast, a full military victory may be elusive. International support, particularly from Western allies, will play a decisive role in shaping Ukraine's future, both on the battlefield and in post-war reconstruction. The war has highlighted the interconnectedness of global politics, as Russia's alliances with nations like China and Iran pose enduring threats to Western interests. Ukraine's strategic position as a bridge between East and West underscores the importance of sustained engagement from the international community. Long-term security guarantees, economic aid, and political support will be critical for Ukraine to rebuild and thrive. In conclusion, Ukraine's resilience and international backing offer a beacon of hope amid the devastation of war. While the outcome remains uncertain, the unwavering resolve of the Ukrainian people and their leadership provides a strong foundation for recovery and renewal. The war's resolution will have far-reaching implications, not just for Ukraine, but for the global balance of power and the principles of sovereignty and democracy.